I had heard the rumors for years, stories whispered in dimly lit pubs and late-night internet forums. There was an asylum on the edge of town, long abandoned, fenced off, and avoided even by vandals. Locals claimed it wasn't just empty. It was alive with the memories of those who never left. Some called it Hawthorne Asylum. Others called it the Warden's House. But no one ever called it safe. When the opportunity came to spend a night there, alone, I didn't hesitate. I told myself it was just an urban legend, just another crumbling building with a bad reputation. But in the back of my mind, I wanted to know if the stories were true. It was just after 9 p.m. when I parked my car at the edge of the cracked, weed-choked driveway. The place loomed ahead like a wounded beast, its tall, broken windows staring down at me like hollow eyes. The moonlight barely touched the front steps, leaving most of the asylum swallowed in shadow. The air was heavy, not just with the smell of mold and dust, but something thicker, like the weight of all the years this place had seen. I stepped through the rusted gates, my flashlight cutting a narrow path through the darkness. The crunch of gravel under my boots was the only sound, until I reached the front doors. They were swollen with age, their paint peeled away in jagged flakes. With a groan that seemed far too loud in the stillness, they opened. The smell hit me instantly, stale, metallic, and faintly sweet. It was the kind of scent you couldn't quite place, but it made your stomach twist. The entrance hall stretched into darkness, lined with wheelchairs, gurneys, and forgotten furniture. The wallpaper hung in strips, revealing rotting wood beneath. Somewhere above me, a pipe dripped steadily, each drop echoing down the hall like a ticking clock. I took my first step inside, and the temperature dropped sharply. My breath clouded in the beam of my flashlight. Halfway down the corridor, I passed a door that hung slightly open. Painted on the wood in faded black letters was Ward C. The metal handle was cold, far colder than it should have been. Inside, the room was lined with beds, each with a thin, yellowed mattress. Restraint straps still hung from some of them. As I scanned the room, my light caught something in the far corner, just for a second. It was small, pale, and moved. I froze, holding my breath. The light flickered, and when it steadied again, the corner was empty. By midnight, I had made my way through the west wing, past the records room and the patient showers, and into the main ward. The floor here was slick with condensation, and every step made a wet, sucking sound. That's when I heard it. A whisper, so faint I thought it was my imagination. I turned off my flashlight, letting my eyes adjust. The darkness felt almost physical, pressing in on me from all sides. The whisper came again, this time clearer. Words I couldn't quite make out, spoken quickly, urgently. It seemed to come from just around the corner. I stepped forward, each heartbeat thundering in my ears. When I turned the corner, the hallway was empty. But the whisper hadn't stopped. It was now directly behind me. I followed the sound to a large double door marked surgery. The metal handles were streaked with something dark, dried, old. Inside, the operating theater was frozen in time. A rusted table stood in the center, its leather straps hanging limply. Overhead, a surgical light dangled at an angle, swaying gently though there was no breeze. On a tray beside the table, tools lay scattered, scalpels, clamps, and something that looked disturbingly like a bone saw. I stepped closer, drawn in despite the rising panic in my chest. That's when the light above me flickered once, twice, and then blazed to life. The sudden brightness made me stumble back. In that split second, the surgical table wasn't empty anymore. A figure lay there, thin, gray-skinned, strapped down. Its mouth was open in a silent scream. And then, just as quickly, it was gone. The light clicked off, leaving me in darkness again. At around 2 a.m., I found the stairs leading down to the cellar. The steps groaned under my weight, each one announcing my presence. The smell grew stronger here, damp earth and something sharp, like old antiseptic. The cellar was a maze of narrow corridors and storage rooms. My flashlight beam danced over shelves stacked with jars, some filled with murky liquid. Shapes floated inside, shapes I didn't want to recognize. That's when I noticed the writing on the walls. Not paint, not graffiti. It was scratched into the plaster, as if by fingernails. "Help us. Still here. Don't look at her." The whisper returned, louder now, all around me. It wasn't one voice anymore. It was dozens, maybe hundreds, overlapping, merging into something almost like a chant. The sound built until it felt like the walls themselves were trembling. Somehow, I found myself at the end of a long hallway, facing a heavy oak door. Warden Elias Carter, Superintendent, the plaque read. The door was locked, but when I tried the handle, it clicked open easily, like it had been waiting for me. Inside, the room was surprisingly intact. Dusty bookshelves lined the walls, and a desk sat in the center, covered in papers and ledgers. I picked up the top sheet and felt my stomach turn. It was a patient log, but every entry for the last month before the asylum closed ended the same way. Transferred, status, terminated. A sudden thud behind me made me spin around. The door had slammed shut. Then, in the corner of the room, a figure stepped forward. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing what looked like an old-fashioned uniform. His eyes were black, not dark brown, not shadow, completely black. "You shouldn't be here," he said, but his lips never moved. I don't remember leaving the room. I don't remember running through the hallways or bursting through the front doors. The next thing I knew, I was outside, gasping for air, the first hints of dawn breaking over the horizon. The whispers were gone. The asylum stood silent and still behind me, its windows like watching eyes. When I got home, I dumped my camera footage onto my laptop. Most of it was normal, empty hallways, my own footsteps, the occasional drip of water. But in one clip, just after midnight, when I had turned my flashlight off, you can clearly hear a voice. Low, right next to the microphone. It says, "We're not alone, and neither are you." If you enjoyed this story and want more nights inside places that should have been left forgotten, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because there are plenty more doors waiting to be opened.